Hi, and welcome to Solo Parenting, the show for all single parents, whether you're a mom or a dad, divorced, widowed, or never married, custodial or visitational. I'm Cynthia McGregor. Our first guest this week is Steve Weinberg, home handyman. I know that many of our viewers are women who used to depend on their husbands for home repairs if the toilet wasn't working or the garbage disposal was stopped up. And now they don't quite know what to do, and calling a handyman in is expensive. As well, we have viewers who are guys who just aren't as well versed in repairs as they'd like to be. Steve's here to show us all how. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things that often goes out around the house is the garbage disposal. Probably second only to the toilet flapper, which you mentioned, which perhaps we could do in a future segment.
Sure.
But the garbage disposal is a frequent item that either works well or doesn't. And the first impulse is usually, oh, got to get a plumber out here to repair it. And often what people don't realize is that almost all garbage disposals are designed with a release mechanism at the bottom as well as a relay at the bottom. So at the first sign when your garbage disposal stops working, first thing you want to do is think about what was just thrown in there. If your kids threw in a bunch of grainy, stringy type things, there's a good chance that they locked up and are holding it and blowing the fuses. So one of the ways around it, as the first test, is almost all of them come with an Allen wrench attachment. Usually they're located, if it was installed properly, on the side. Merely take the Allen wrench, insert it at the base, and turn it a few times. And what this does is it breaks the main cutting edges loose from the sides, and by doing that it frees it up. Then when you hit the button, it should go on. Now,
Steve, do you want to turn it clockwise or counterclockwise?
It really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of turning it one way or the other. Okay? Now, you want to make sure that it's turned off, because if you didn't have a circuit breaker that shut it off and it just jammed, it's possible that it could spin. It's unlikely, but it's always a good idea to turn off any electric at the switch or at the circuit breaker. So if you turn it and now it clicks and it starts moving freely, then the next thing that you want to do is push this red button. Now this is an internal relay, and what this is designed is when anytime there's too much stress put on the unit itself, such as being stuck or having a difficult time grinding heavy materials, this is designed to pop out, and by pushing it, it resets it. So that's the first and second steps that you want to take. Now, if both of those, if it's freely turning and pushing that relay on the bottom doesn't work, then you want to check what's called a ground fault interrupter, GFI. The newer homes have these. They're part of the electric wall sockets that are located around the kitchen, also in the bathroom. And these don't look like the regular sockets. What these look like have a little button. One says test, usually in red, and the other says set. And what will happen is those will pop just like the relay, and you push that button in and you'll hear it click. If it's popped out, you'll hear it click. And that resets the ground fault, which then you should go to the switch and see if it comes on. Now, in older homes, they either don't have a ground fault interrupter, in which case you go to the circuit breakers on the main panel. Now again, you don't have to worry about being electrocuted. Some people are afraid to touch anything with electric. These are protected, and the way these work are, you hear the snap. Now, what they are designed when they get overloaded to pop, and when they pop, they go to the side, and you'll see a line. Everything in the line will be in one direction. The circuit breaker that popped will be in the off direction. To reset it, you simply push it over like that. You hear the click, it says on, and you're set. Now, if you push it over and it clicks back, that means there is still an overload in the circuit. And at that point, you do need to call an electrician. There's nothing that you can personally do that would resolve the issue. But it's called troubleshooting. And by troubleshooting, you have to go through a series of simple tests to determine the problem. Now, if after doing all of that, your garbage disposal still doesn't work, those of you out there who are extremely handy and know how to use a hammer, perhaps on somebody near and dear to you that no longer is around, you can install your own disposal. It is not overly difficult, and for those of you who have some capability, this part is what goes in the sink. The disposal fits up into here. It is twisted, turns in. You have a drain. This goes off if you have a dishwasher. You have to knock the plug out inside. Drain comes off from here. And then this is the disposal part that goes into the sink drain. The only other part that gets a little tricky is you do have to wire in the plug. You don't have to wire it into hardwall into the wall, but you do have an electric hookup here going to a standard plug that would plug into the wall. And the instructions are always included. I only recommend this for those of you who are a little more handy and a little more comfortable with working with these things, but it is not an overly impossible job to do. So that's it.
Well, that's it for this time, but I'd love to have you back so you can talk about toilet trouble.
Toilet flappers, yes, another area that's very important. My pleasure.
And very common. Thanks so much
for
being here, Steve.